and welcome back to another delicious episode of The Initiatrix. I'm really excited that you are here. Thank you for joining me. Today's episode is an introduction, really, into the next four, because I'm going to be diving deep into the core soul wounds and teaching you how to alchemize these soul wounds into gold. I'm so excited for this, and I'm so excited that you're here, and I'm so excited that you're actually going to come back to this episode with your journal, with your notepad, and with a beautiful sparkly pen to make notes, because you are going to learn some stuff that's going to help you to move the needle in your life and in your business in a huge fucking way. So let's dive in. I'm bringing these soul wounds to your attention and into your awareness because what's happening right now on a conscious collective level, we are being called from within, and perhaps you can feel it, this pulsating, this sense of urgency or sense of, I know that I'm meant to be doing something different, or I know that I'm meant to be doing something else. We're being called to rise to the occasion, and not just from within ourselves, within our souls, but there's this almost like this pulling and tugging sensation that we're experiencing right now. And there's going to be some stuff coming up for you to face. And so this episode and the ones following to follow are very timely because we're being called to rise and evolve into our calling on a much greater and deeper level. And to be able to do this, we must first be willing to descend and become so enamored with who we be, with our bodies. We must be willing to meet ourselves in our own shadows, to expand into even more of our own edges, to require way more of ourselves, to be intimate with ourselves on a new level and in a new way, so that we become deeply fortified, nourished, nurtured, and embodied, rooted in our truth, rooted in our authentic expression, which is, of course, that of the soul. And while we are obviously a soul having a human experience, we have to be fully expressed in our soul, in our vision, in our mission from here on out, because there truly is no other way. This is the call. This is the clarion call to action. This is the call that you are feeling. This deep desire, this deep longing for something new, something different, something unknown, something that feels like it's out there somewhere, which of course it is not, it's within you. So while the human and the ego has had a role to play, and it always has a role to play, the body consciousness also has its own journey and roles to play. And the soul's journey is one that is so often comes with those deep, intense lessons and gifts to unearth. The alchemy, this is where the alchemy comes in, that we get to turn into gold. And these gifts that we get to unearth and reclaim. And this is so often the very lessons, the things that we need to face to learn, that prevent us from taking a stand for what we believe in and what we are being called to do. The actions that we're being called to take, like acknowledging and admitting to self and other that we are deeply spiritual beings, that we believe in, we stand beside, and we co-create with the unseen realms, and we always fucking have done since the beginning of time, which of course doesn't exist, but that's an episode for another day. We are, and we never were alone on this planet or any other planet, and that we get to be fully supported and provided for by the unseen realms. And we do this by truly listening to the soul, by alchemizing the soul wounds, because there is so much more than our body and our minds that we get to tap into. There is so much more available to us and for us. And our soul really has come with its own journey, its own karma, its own evolutionary contracts, its own lessons, its own gifts. And now is the time to really step into that purpose, into that fulfillment that comes with the minute that you say yes, the minute that you decide that you're going to follow the sensations, the desires that you are experiencing right fucking now. Because I know that you're experiencing them, because we all are. We're being called to more. We're being called to rise. We're being called to actually look at our shadows in a new way. And even though we may have been led to believe that we have free will, which of course we do, but our soul, the divine, and God's will trumps the whole freaking lot. This is my opinion, of course. The core soul wounds are where the gold is. It's where your light gets to be unveiled and shine like a beacon. It's in these wounds that we get to learn how to become the master alchemist, the divine magician. The core soul wound influences a person's life. It influences your life. And it's more often than not the origin of a protection mechanism that you have been using for probably lifetimes. It's the origin of a mask, a facade that you have been using to keep yourself safe, and the mask that you put on in front of others. But it's also the thing that has been stopping you from taking the leap of faith that you know you need to be taking in the direction of your soul's calling, in the direction of something that truly scares the bejesus out of you, but it just won't go away. It feels like it's following you around like a rabid dog. And there's probably parts of you that are going, I'm not ready yet. Give me a little more time. One day, someday, I have to do this first. Let me sort this thing out over here first before I actually take the leap. These are all reflected in core soul wounds, mostly. The soul wounds run deep. They're etched into your subconscious, and they have often been passed down through your lineage, through your childhood, and through your soul's evolution, through past lives, through all of the things. And not just past lives, okay? Because I'm of the belief that there are no past lives, there are parallel lives, and through galactic lifetimes as well. So the soul is evolving and has evolved through all of space and time to be able to be here now in your body, in your human, so that we can evolve with this planet and bring this planet to a new harmonious space and place for us all to reside and live. And as I'm actually saying this to you, I'm feeling the emotion arise within me, like within my heart center, which tells me often when I feel it and express an emotion as I'm speaking, tells me that on some level there is a universal truth there that I'm speaking into. I know that there are multiple truths, and so I really invite you to just discern whether this rings and feels true for you. But going back to the soul wounds, these wounds play an important role in your life. They condition your behavior, your thoughts, your relationships, your emotions, how you relate to other people, how you relate to money, how you relate to your business, how you relate to your clients, how you relate to your own body. And it is said that each and every person has suffered, quote unquote, on some level we have suffered. Each and every person has suffered from at least 3 of these wounds. And one of these wounds would usually be the more dominant and the more present. And so I will be talking about over the coming weeks, each one of these wounds, and sharing with you my expression, how they've showed up in my own life. I will be sharing with you how they could potentially be showing up in your own life and business also, and what you can do to alchemize them very, very quickly so that you get to reap the benefits of all of these things, so that you can get to alchemize them all into gold. So this is your invitation right now to stay connected, to keep coming back to these episodes over the coming weeks, because you're not going to want to miss anything. So before I truly dive into all of this stuff, I'd really love to invite you into my community, to join the community so that you can stay updated, be the first to know. And also to let you know that we have some really, really cool free experiences and events happening over the coming months that I know that you're not going to want to miss. So you can learn more about this by clicking the link in the show notes and signing up to join the mailing list. So let's dive into the first core wound, the rejection wound. Oh, this is a biggie. This is a biggie. In fact, they're all biggies. They are all relatively big and can impact and influence our lives in so many different ways. For me, I had always been and experienced rejection. I am a manifestor in human design, and that part of me played its own role in me experiencing rejection. But here's the thing. Knowing that I was always being rejected made it really easy for me to get whatever the fuck I want. People often, and still didn't like what I looked like, how I dressed, who I was, what I believed, what I thought, what I said, how I showed up in the world, how much space I took up, I could stand in a room, and this still often happens, but I've alchemized this wound to such a degree that it no longer impacts me or impacts the way that I feel about myself or other people. But I can stand in a room, not say anything, and know that my energy is having an impact on people around me. And they're already deciding who I am, what I look like, what I stand for, what kind of person I am, how I think about what I think about them. They've already decided that. And so much of this is true for all of us, to be honest. This shows up for so many of us. We're already judging people around us before we've even spoken to them. But coming back to the rejection wound, people made it very, very clear and very, very known that they did not like parts of me on the inside and on the outside. However, because of this, I've really had to learn how to validate myself first. I've had to learn how to approve of myself first, no matter what. I've had to embody a level of mastery that has taught me how to ask myself, check in with myself first, no matter what, which has really allowed me to, in my business, this has allowed me to say no to the wrong clients. Because when you don't have the capacity to be able to say no to the wrong clients, the likelihood is that the rejection wound is running the show, or there's some form of people pleasing happening, or there's some form of, I don't want them to see me in a bad light. So really cycling back to the rejection wound. It made it really easy to release clients that were no longer a match in my business. It helped me to really speak my truth, no matter what people were saying. This is in and outside of my business. It really helped me to have difficult conversations with people, no matter what. This is one thing that I am absolutely proud of myself for, is being able to have a conversation with somebody, even when it feels really challenging, even when it scares me, even when I don't know how they're going to react. We never know how anybody's going to react or respond to us anyway. But this is one of the things that I love about me, is that I have this capacity to wear my heart on my sleeve, say what I need, say what I'm feeling, say what I'm experiencing, have a conversation, and just be really fucking honest and transparent. I couldn't do that when I was deep in this rejection wound, when I was scared of being rejected by people, when I was scared of what people might say to me, or when I was scared of conflict, when I was scared of, doing wrong or harming other people. I couldn't fucking do that. So it's really helped me also in my business to feel validated and in conviction, moving from a space of conviction around the prices that I want to charge for my services, how I'm going to show up, how I want and when I want, and how I'm actually going to adjust and adapt the offerings that I have put out, and how I do that with ease, because I'm not constantly worrying about if I'm going to upset someone or if I'm going to be rejected. I'm not constantly concerned about how other people are going to perceive and receive me. Like, this is how I move in the world. I'm very, very innovative. I make my decisions and do something one day, and the next day I might completely change my mind, and I'm okay with that. Change, however, often instills fear in others because they don't move as quickly as I do. And perhaps you can relate to this as well. And so sometimes when I make decisions and then change my mind, people get butthurt because they're not used to such speedy innovation and making decisions so quickly. And that's okay. Like, we all have our role to play. But this is why I've had to learn to validate myself first, is because I know that that's who I am. And circling back to being a manifestor in human design, as someone with splenic authority, I don't really want to go into human design, but I feel it's relevant to share this with you. Somebody who has a splenic authority moves from a space of like primal knowing, of intuitive nudges, of, you know, receiving like an intuitive nudge, and it's usually gentle and quiet, and then acting on that impulse straight away because it doesn't repeat itself. And so I might do something one day, change my mind the next day, change my mind the next day, change my mind the next day. And so I wouldn't be able to do that and to follow the natural rhythms of my body, of how I am, who I be, and who I am, if I was still holding on to a rejection wound, if I was still concerned about how other people were going to perceive my nifty shifting out. So I've had to alchemize this. And it's such an amazing gift to alchemize because you get to show up how you want, when you want. You get to, you know, really cancel your programs if they no longer feel aligned with you or in your business. And this is very much moving from a space of conviction, knowing that you're going to support people to contain them. Not that it's your responsibility to contain them, but it's definitely your responsibility to make sure that everybody is in the know if you change your mind about something, especially when you have clients and in your business. But it's about the rejection wound. When you've alchemized the rejection wound, you feel confident to do that. You don't just continue to put offers out just because you think that, you know, you're going to upset someone or they're going to think badly of you. Alchemizing the rejection wound has really helped me to just adapt and adjust very, very easily. When you're letting this show up, run your business or run the show and your business, you're more often than not letting other people's approval run the show. So you're only going to show up, do the things that you want to do, and then continue. If you change your mind, you won't play full out. The likelihood is that you will be so concerned about other people that you actually won't allow yourself to follow your intuition, to follow the impulses of your soul, to follow the guidance or whatever it is, the knowing, whatever it is that you're feeling, sensing, experiencing, because you're more concerned about being rejected and disapproved of by other people than you are about validating yourself in those moments. You have to learn to validate who you are and what you want first. So the rejection really stems from early experiences or perceptions that you have gathered, the evidence that you have gathered in your life of not being accepted or valued. And this can often lead to a deep, deep fear of being excluded or dismissed or not being seen or not being accepted or not being heard or witnessed or acknowledged. And so it can show up more often than not, especially if you are being called and you are hearing the call to start a business, to follow your soul's mission. You may already have a business, but now you're feeling that it's not necessarily businessing how you would like it to business. And you're wanting to learn how to do things more easily. You're wanting to learn how to lean into your intuition. Although parts of you may already think that actually using your intuition is probably the hardest thing to do. It's not. It actually gets to be really fucking easy when you learn to listen to your intuition. But this is the thing, is that you will, if you're holding on to this soul wound and you're allowing it to define and dictate the actions that you're taking, the thoughts that you're thinking, the beliefs that you have about yourself, then it's going to show up in your life and in your business as things like fear of visibility. So you might avoid taking risks. Your mind and your ego may come up with a gazillion reasons as to why you can't do the things that you know that you need to be doing, like starting this new project inside of the business that you already have, like literally taking a leap in the direction of something that feels scary as fuck, which could be starting a new business or a new project or something that has never been done before. I find this comes up so often with those that have visionary minds, who have big visions, who are being called to create something that's never been done before, that are very innovative, that are being required to lead in a new way, in a way that they may have never done before, in a way that they've never seen being done before. And so this fear of rejection can show up as that fear of visibility, stepping into the spotlight due to fear of being criticized or judged or shamed or having the finger being pointed at you. It can show up in your business as over accommodating, as taking on clients that you really don't want to fucking take on, even though, I don't know, they're going to pay you a shit ton of money. You're going to take them on, but you know deep down inside that they're not really the person that you're supposed to be working with. And the same could be true with friendships. Continuing to be in a friendship or in a relationship with somebody that you find yourself complaining about, moaning about, not liking very much, but you don't want to let them go. You don't want to cut them off. You don't want to have a conversation with them because deep down inside, you think that you're actually going to be the one to get hurt rather than and feel rejected rather than actually having the conversation that you know you need to be having. So this people pleasing can show up as this kind of relationship, and almost like overgiving as well in friendships, overgiving in client relationships, overgiving with team members, with partners, with vendors, at the expense of your own needs, of your own boundaries. So if you find yourself over accommodating and over giving in your time, your energy, your attention, when you know damn well that you need to be doing something differently, where you've got other things that require your attention, your time and your energy, but you want to deliver a service, or you want to make sure people kind of get everything that they need while you are actually not getting everything that you need and not pay attention to the things that you need to be paying attention to. This is where this rejection wound is showing up for you. It can also be driven by this fear of losing approval or validation from someone. So actually losing friends, colleagues, family members, losing lovers, partners, however it may show up for you. So it could be that fear that's perpetuating your behaviors as well. Another way that this can show up is, it's so interesting, procrastinating, not taking the action that you know you need to be taking, which is literally what I've just said a minute ago, and also underpricing, overgiving, playing small, and it's often rooted in the belief that you are unworthy of the success that you desire, unworthy of all the things that you know that you came here to do, unworthy of, like, almost like this thought pattern and process of who am I to run this business? Who am I to start this project? Who am I to work with this person? Who am I to raise my prices? Who am I to say no? Who am I to, fill in the blank? This would also lead into this fear or this challenge, perhaps difficulty with feedback, criticism, constructive criticism. It may not necessarily land well in your body. This can often make it hard for you to grow and evolve. this overworking, overachieving, pushing yourself to prove yourself, pushing yourself to prove yourself, pushing yourself to prove your worth, pushing yourself to prove that you're worthy, pushing yourself to show up for your clients in a way that kind of validates the money that they have paid you for the service that you are delivering. So it's that whole going above and beyond because you feel like you need to give them their money's worth on the service that you are delivering, rather than actually recognizing that who you be is enough and that you don't need to go above and beyond, and that in most cases, the energy that you have created in the container that you have, or the service that you have, that you are delivering, the energy can do a lot of the heavy lifting. And that more often than not, it's not necessarily your physical presence or you overgiving or you overachieving or you overworking that's actually going to move the needle for the people that you are working with. We're kind of going off on a tangent here, but I think that the reason that this is coming through to share with you is because it's all fucking relevant and it's all related to, and not just only, not only related to the rejection wound, but it's very much this seeking validation from the external through achievement, seeking validation from your clients by overgiving and overachieving and overworking for them. So how can you alchemize it? How can you use these beautiful gifts, this beautiful soul wound, and alchemize it into gold? Well, first of all of the things that I've just laid out for you, tell me, and I invite you to see them through this lens as well. Tell me that you actually give a shit. You give a shit about your people. You give a shit about yourself. You give a shit about the people that you are interacting with. The problem is that while you give a shit about other people, which is really, really beautiful quality, and while you do give a shit about yourself to a degree, you care more about other people than you do yourself. It's almost like you're trying to overcompensate so that you don't get hurt, because you don't see yourself as valuable, that you don't see yourself as worthy. And so to alchemize these things, it's about finding the harmony and the balance between what you give to others and what you give to yourself, what you allow in for yourself, what you allow yourself to receive, what you allow yourself to have for yourself, the way that you see yourself. So first of all, there has to be an awareness and an acceptance that this is present for you. You have to acknowledge that this is showing up for you and that you do resonate with some of the things that I shared. And awareness is always the first fucking step in the alchemical process. Because with no awareness, you cannot shift or change or start that beautiful process. So it's awareness and then admitting that it's there. And find deep fucking appreciation for the fact that you do give a shit about people. You give a shit about your people. You care about your people. I think one of the things that we find in this self-development, spiritual community, business, all of the things, that when we're talking about people pleasing and overgiving and overachieving and overworking and doing all of this, yes, we're compromising our own integrity to a degree, but we're also looking at it through the lens of this is wrong, this is bad, this is a problem, we need to fix it, you've got to stop doing that shit, which is bullshit, quite frankly, because it's actually a really, really beautiful quality to know that within you, you have the capacity to give a fucking shit, to care. And so it's about, how can I use this for myself? How can I give to myself first? How can I allow myself to give to myself so much that I am then giving from the overflow, rather than I'm overgiving, I'm overworking, I'm overachieving because I don't feel like I'm good enough, because I don't want people to leave me, because I don't want to feel like I'm going to get hurt or harmed or be left behind. So it's about giving yourself permission to pour into your own cup, and that it's not selfish, and that it's not wrong, and that you are just as desirable, just as worthy, just as important, just as amazing as the people that you are choosing to give into. Give into, what I mean by give to. You also have to recognize that not everybody is going to fucking like you. Not everybody is going to accept you. Not everybody is going to want to be around you. Not everybody is going to agree with everything you say. Not everybody's going to, like, people are fucking wild. They will always surprise you. You will never be able to control what happens outside of you. And so if you're moving from a space of fear, if you're moving from a space of I don't want to be rejected, you're doing this because you're trying to control what happens next. You're trying to control other people. You're deciding for other people. So how about approving of yourself first? The rejection wound is really a reflection of where you've been rejecting yourself and where you have continuously rejected yourself, because that's how you have been conditioned, programmed. But that's not now. And it doesn't have to continue to be now. You get to choose differently. And this is the whole process of alchemy. It's awareness, it's choice. It's about what choices do I get to make next? Now I have this awareness. Now I admit that I have this quote unquote issue. It's not even an issue. It's a thing. It's something here that I get to alchemize and I get to use to my benefit and to my advantage. And actually, it's a superpower. Caring about people is a superpower. Caring about yourself is even like next level superpower. The awareness, the admission, the giving yourself permission to choose differently, giving yourself permission to stop making decisions for other people, giving yourself permission to stop choosing for other people, giving yourself permission to stop trying to control other people. Let yourself be rejected. This is the other beautiful thing. Alchemizing this wound, it gets to be so fucking fun. It really does. One of the things that I've learned in my own journey is that when I am consciously or unconsciously participating in my own demise, and what I mean by this is when I am consciously or unconsciously allowing myself to receive something that feels really shit in my system. So allowing myself to be rejected, to be when I'm going into a self-sabotage spiral, because I have done and I do, and I'm human, and it doesn't switch off, and you just get better at alchemizing it and shifting it. But one of the things that I have learned, and things that I've learned from witnessing other people and working with lots of clients, is that 9 times out of 10, the reason we do this is because we're actually getting pleasure out of it on some level. We are having needs met that we hadn't been met in our childhood or in previous iterations of our soul's journey and evolution. And so this is lessons that get to be learned. So let yourself be rejected. Allow yourself to feel the pleasure. See it through the lens of that you are actually alchemizing this wounding by letting yourself be rejected. If you can learn to love to be rejected, then nothing can fucking stop. Like nothing can stop you. You become unstoppable. You become so fucking unapologetic and powerful because you really don't give it. Yes, you give a shit about your people, but you don't give a shit about the people that are going to hurt you. Let yourself feel the fear that stops you from speaking the truth. Feel it. Put yourself in the position where you're going to get rejected. It's some weird fucking kink, but it works. The more that you allow yourself to receive no's, as in NO, people telling you they don't want you to be around, they don't like you, they don't want you here, like all of the things, the more that you put yourself in that position, the more you get to alchemize it with ease. When you do this, I'm not saying that you have to put yourself in this position. I'm not saying that you have to go out there now and put yourself in a position where you're going to get rejected left and right. What I am saying is that this is one way that you get to alchemize the rejection wound, to see it through the lens of pleasure and what needs are you having met, to actually experience the no and be okay with it. Like, it's about asking yourself, what's the worst thing that could fucking happen? And getting radically honest with yourself, because nothing bad is actually going to happen. You might get a little bit butthurt along the way, but nothing bad will happen. You get to shift and change and alchemize this and use it to your advantage, because you really do become, by doing all of this, you really do become an expert in validating yourself first, in showing up, in using your voice, in speaking your truth. You do it with confidence. You become unfuckwithable. The thing that I have held on to and I have used often is that rejection is always protection. This is another way to alchemize this. Rejection is protection. So where you are rejected from a situation, from an experience, from a relationship, from a business deal, from a whatever it is, where you are rejected, may feel a little butthurt, you have to recognize that you then have a choice. How do you want to deal with this? And the way that I like to deal with it is by saying, actually, I'm being protected from something here. I don't have the awareness. Only God has that awareness. The universe has that awareness, and I'm being protected. So these are all the things that you can do to alchemize this wound. You can also learn how to set your boundaries, practice saying no, prioritize you over anyone else, self-validate, celebrate your wins, no matter how small they are, cultivate your own inner approval. This also creates sovereignty for you. It shows you that you are worthy. It shows you that you accept you. When you do all of these things, not an ounce of wounding can impact or influence what you do next. And because you are being called to more, it is important that you take radical self-responsibility and action to do the things so that you can step up to the plate. Step up to and into the role that you are being called into. You will know who you are. That's the other beautiful thing about alchemy, is that you really get to know who you are, regardless of what other people say, regardless of what other people do, regardless of other people, period. You get to create a beautiful life and business that is for you first. You get to say what you want without trying to censor yourself. You have such a certainty about who you are. Your sense of self and your identity become unshakable. The thing is about these wounds is that they don't go away. It's not you alchemize them and then poof, they've gone. It's about alchemizing them at each iteration of your evolution, because everything happens in layers and aspects and levels. And it's about coming back to the same awareness, reminding yourself using the tools, using the insights that you may have gained through listening to this episode to help you to alchemize this into gold. Whatever gold is for you, right? The gold could be that, it could be money. It could be a sense of empowerment. It could be that you start to feel a lot more liberated and free, that the shackles of the rejection wound are finally broken. Thank you for listening to this episode. We'll be back next week with the next episode in the series. I hope you found it helpful. Let us know. Leave us a review. Email me. Let me know how this landed for you. I always love to hear your feedback. And I will see you next week. If today's episode resonated and landed with you, if you noticed a spark of curiosity being ignited, and you would love to step a little closer into my world, I invite you to join myself and other amazing luminaries inside the Initiatrix private community. You can do this by joining the inner circle. I can't wait to see you inside.